Good morning, my friends. Hey, Mel. Haven't seen you in a little bit. I'm going to send out I feel like it's not messages. It's like carrier pigeons.
Haven't seen you in a little bit.
There we go. YouTube is now live. Okay. Good morning, good morning. Feel free to share the live if you know anyone who would like to sit for a brief meditation. Doggo has decided to join us this morning. We'll see how long he stays for. You can lay down. Just watch the tea troll. No, but you're gonna lay down. Lay down. It was just fine how you were. It was just fine. Lay down. Sir. Hey Joshua, good morning. Let me zoom in on these comments here so I can see what's going on up there. Watch the tea. You dog. You dog. Thank you, sir. As you can see, we're just getting settled in here. So find yourself a cozy spot. Ideally, this mudra and meditation is done in a seated position. So if you have that available to you, great. If not, feel free to modify. It's a very simple mudra we're doing today. For those of you who are new here, hello. My name is Reverend Deborah, and I am a movement facilitator. Movement in breath, body, and being. This is our Bhakti Bites class. It is a live free class where we practice a mindfulness tool. We've been working with mudras for quite some time, so we practice a mudra and we sit in a very simple meditation with that mudra. This is something that is available from if you've never ever meditated and this is your very, very first time, you can do this. If you've been meditating your entire lifetime, and you can do this, okay? Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you guys for the follows. Welcome, welcome, welcome in. So today is Monday, which means we start out with a new mudra for the week. This mudra is called the Bhairava mudra and is another foundational mudra for meditation. A little bit of background on this mudra. So this is how the mudra is done. It is simply done by laying the right hand in the left and placing them in the lap. One suggestion for how to create this mudra, which I find interesting, is that it's specifically directed to begin with your hands on each thigh and then bring them in together. It reminds me kind of closing a gate or bringing two sides into the center. And that's essentially what this mudra does, is it works to balance the energy body, all of the chakras, all of the doshas, calms the mind, reduces anxiety. But what's really powerful about this mudra is that this mudra is known for reducing ego clinging. So Bhairava is the name of the fiercest form of Shiva, right? He's a Hindu deity and represents the fiercest form of the masculine energy. And so when we use this mudra, we cultivate that fierceness almost as if you're kind of the eye of the storm, so to speak. You are calm and centered without having to be pulled off balance by said power, said courage. Courage to release ego clinging, courage to see beyond our own limitations, courage to let go of our attachments to our anxiety, to our frustrations, to our suffering. So there is a masculine and a feminine aspect to this mudra. So this week, first we're going to work with the masculine today. On Wednesday, we're going to work with the feminine version. And then on Friday, we're going to, hey, Nikki. And on Saturday, we're going to close out with a culmination of the two. So definitely stay tuned for the week. Make sure you make it to Wednesday and Saturday sessions as well, Note that on Friday we do tiny yoga class, which is another free class, and that one we also weave the mudra and the same theme into the practice. So these are our simple seated mindfulness tools. Why do we call it Bhakti Bites? That's the important part. Why Bhakti Bites? Bhakti means devotion. Devotion to what? Devotion to self-care. Because sometimes we think that self-care has to be extensive or take us away from our day-to-day things like that. And in reality, mindfulness is something that we weave into our day-to-day so that it is always available to us. Thank you, friend. This is my tea troll. He made the Bhakti Bites announcement this morning, if you saw that. Yes, I spend this week. Yeah, this is my daily friend. I really want to get some clay and make friends for him. I did not make this one, but he needs some friends. Okay, so since self-care is sometimes so hard to schedule into our days, Bhakti Bites classes are ways for you to slip in a little bit of self-care with these brief meditations and then learn a tool that you can take with you throughout the day when you need another pause, right? When you need another moment of self-care, when you need another moment of mindfulness to bring you back to center, you can take these mudras with you and use them whenever, wherever. Thank you for the follow, my friend. All right, so we will go ahead and slip into our practice. So again, ideally, this one is done seated, and part of the reason for that is that, or at least upright. I guess if you're walking too, it's okay to use this mudra while you're walking. It's just not going to create the same stillness in the eye of the storm sort of sensation as we are ideally looking for. So if you can be still for this mudra, please do so. If it's not available to you, still practice the mudra. And if even that's not available to you, if you need both hands and you can't be sitting, then just listen in, and maybe you can use the tools later on, and note that the replays are always on YouTube, so you can come back later. And you can just enjoy the soothing vibe for now, right? Okay, so go ahead and find yourself a cozy spot. Sometimes when I've got a little bit of chatter in my body or in my head, it can help me to offer some wiggles. You see me sitting here doing it right now. Offer a little bit of wiggles. Usually, a lot of times I have low back issues, and so just offering a little bit of wiggles in a seated position can help the body kind of nestle into being seated without causing pain. So if you need to take a moment to get your body into a resting place. Now, when you are ready, we'll go ahead and bring our mudra into our lap. Again, we do this mudra by placing both hands, palms upright on each thigh. And then we bring the hands together with the right on top of the left, keeping all fingers tucked, not tight. We don't need to squeeze them, just keep them closed. Right hand in the left, and then rest your mudra gently in your lap. Once you have your mudra, go ahead and close your eyes, and we will begin our practice the same way we always do, with 3 deep breaths. Begin by inhaling through the nose, pulling the breath through the lungs and down into the belly. And sigh it out. Inhale again, lifting the heart and elongating the spine. And let it go. Inhale once more, expanding the rib cage in all directions, front, sides, and back. And release. Go ahead and seal the lips, and for just a moment, rest your attention gently on your breath, following the inhale all the way to the top and the exhale all the way to the bottom. Remember that meditation is a personal practice. The more you sit with it, the more it will resonate within you. And it is not about perfection. It is simply the practice. Meditation is about the practice and the progress, not perfection. not expectation, judgment, or holding. Simply follow the breath. Set your intention to follow the breath and bring your attention back to this intention over and over as many times as you need to. If your mind speaks up and talks about what has to happen yesterday or tomorrow or whatnot, just simply return to your breath. If you have a pain in your knee or a kink in your back, feel free to offer a little wiggle and then return your attention to your breath. It's okay to adjust when you need to, as long as we come back to our intention in our practice over and over. And right now the intention is simply to allow the breath to anchor us into the present moment. Following the inhale all the way to the top and the exhale all the way to the bottom. Allowing the breath to slowly extend, creating a little more space. Offering stillness to the body and mind. And again, even if it's chaotic in your mind, return again and again to the breath. It is a practice. Exercising the muscle of focusing our awareness. You may stay here in this part of this meditation for as long as you'd like, simply following the breath, especially if your mind is a bit busy. I encourage you to stay with the breath until you begin to feel a calmness in the body and in the mind. And at that point, I invite you to imagine light coming down from the sky. Sunlight, starlight, celestial light, solar light, universal light. The masculine form of energy, of divinity. Imagine it just sprinkling down over you, raining down over you, washing over you, however that manifests for you. Allow that energy to gently fill your body, washing over the outside of your body and inside of your body, entering through the crown chakra. Again, you can simply stay with the breath, and holding this mudra while staying with the breath will offer you this same energy balance, offer you that cultivation of that masculine side of fierceness, allowing us to cut our attachments, to sever our ties to suffering. But not by going into battle, not by waging war, but by simply being calm, centered, and still. Allow that solar energy to soothe the body and the mind, warming the body and the mind. You may notice any manner of sensations during meditation. Do your best not to attach stories or judgments to them. Not everything has a reason or a purpose or a story to it. Some things are just occurrences. Sensations rise and fall in the body. Thoughts rise and fall in the mind, just as the heart rises and falls on the breath. And there is nothing more that you need to do. Simply be with this energy, allowing the energy to be absorbed by the body, by the energy body, by the spirit, the same way that oxygen is absorbed by the body by the simple act of breathing, without our intention, without our focus, without our doing anything. The breath nourishes our body. And in the same way, allow that divine masculine, that solar energy, to nourish the body, the soul, and the mind. Slow, steady breaths. Slow, steady breaths. Slow, steady breaths. I encourage you to stay with this practice in whatever parts of it feel most soothing and comfortable to you. Maybe you're still sitting with the breath, inhaling all the way to the top, exhaling all the way to the bottom. Maybe you're enjoying a shower of celestial energies, absorbing into the body, warming every corner of your being, or somewhere in between. Stay with the practice as long as you would like, as long as it's available to you. When you feel complete, I invite you to bring your palms together in prayer, or simply lay one over the other over your heart in gratitude for today's practice. In gratitude for that divine source energy, that masculine vitality that flows through us all, balancing our being with the feminine, allowing us to be that conduit for divine source energy that brings the duality into oneness. Offer yourself a little gratitude for taking the time for self-care today. You are so fucking worth it, and I'm so proud of you for taking this time. And thank you, as always, for joining me. When you're ready to come out of meditation, please do so slowly. Offer yourself some more wiggles, some stretches. Maybe cover your eyes before you open them. Opening my eyes is my least favorite part of meditation. There, I said it. It's true. There is something I really don't like about meditation, and it's opening my eyes. Hi, Dee. A tiny molecule. I like that. Quarks. Pop in and pop out, right? June, good morning. You are very welcome. Let me make these a little smaller here. Okay, so, somehow I turned Bhakti Bites Live to private. Well, that's why no one's watching. Ha! Ha! I can tech. Hey, Luke, how are you? You been at the gym? Well, welcome. I don't even know how to do that. That's a bummer that I messed up that setting. Well, we can always upload the replay, right? I am very well. We are just finishing a Bhakti Bites session with the new mudra for the week, the Bhairava Mudra. Bhairava Mudra. Which is done like so. Simple mudra, one open hand in the other, cultivates the divine masculine form of fierceness. And on Wednesday, we're going to visit the feminine form. We're going to spend this week alternating between the masculine and feminine forms of this mudra, because it helps balance our personal system, right? Our personal yin and yang energy. And for all of this aligning ourselves work that many of us are doing, or even manifestation work, right? To manifest something, we want to be able to align ourselves with it. We need to be able to align ourselves with it. But if we are not in balance ourselves, then how do we expect to align ourselves, right? It's the thing that I've been saying it came to me last year at some point, and it was just this realization that when the scales are imbalanced, the measurement will always come out askew, right? And we forget this sometimes when we're talking about manifestation or about how life is going for us. And, things outside seem chaotic and unexpected and unpredictable and maybe a little bit not great, But then have I been cultivating balance in myself so that there is balance in my outer world as well? You. I don't know. It changed everything. When I started asking the question, not who did this or how did this happen, but how can I realign? How can I come back to a place of balance? Because the ultimate, right? The ultimate truth is that I have no control over any other situation in life except for myself. And by way of centering and balancing myself and finding my inner locus of control, then I am the captain. So I wanted to talk about that internal family system stuff too, because it's been coming up a lot lately. And I feel like maybe I need to do like a little video about internal family systems, especially when I'm doing lives and I've got like I mentioned the pirates all offhanded. But it is such a powerful practice for learning how to meet ourselves, learning how to converse with ourselves. I think that's probably one of the first things that we get out of practicing internal family systems, is because when we create a character to represent these different aspects of ourselves, we change the feeling from I am angry, I embody the anger, it is me, I identify with it, versus it is outside of me and something that is therefore temporal and only happening now and even affected by this other part of myself, but not the entire truth of who I am or what I am in the moment, right? There's a powerful, powerful practice of simply changing your wording from I am angry to I am feeling angry. Feeling that emotion has a temporal aspect to it. I am angry means I identify with it as a core part of who I am, of my identity, right? And it becomes much harder to let go of things when we perceive them as part of our identity. And the simple practice of changing your wording around that is going to condition the mind. And I want to move away from training the mind and talk about conditioning the mind, because that's what meditation is doing. Just like you go to the gym, right, D, to condition the body, you go to meditation to condition the mind. We use mindfulness tools so that we can condition the mind and build the necessary like physical structures in the brain that allow us to maintain our locus of control, that allow us to affect our inner and outer reality, that allow us to find center and balance when we otherwise feel triggered and not in control. But again, I want to shy away from the word control, because it's not about a forceful effect on the world. Just like that eye of the storm sort of fierceness, I can release my attachment to my suffering, to my ego clinging, simply by being present with my ego, with that desire to cling, with the justification to be the ego self, be those ego characters in those moments when triggered. But when we practice mindfulness to such a degree that it is available to us throughout our day as a back pocket tool of, hey, wait, I can come back to center, we begin to practice something that we've, just started I'm trying to find a word for it, but the only thing I can think of is like quantum mindfulness, because you literally affect change to the quality of your experience, to time and space, to your experience of time and space changes. Thank you for the follow, friend. And that's exceptional, right? We talk about manifestation, but I feel like maybe there's this missed piece of like, or maybe the deeper explanation, I don't know. But there is something inexplicably quantum about it. When you've experienced the way that breath alone, awareness alone slows down time. You begin to realize just a fraction of how powerful we really are, of what is available to us. There's many talks. I guess not many talks, but there are some talks about these like superpowers of yogis, right? Have you guys heard of these? I had heard of this or that before, but then I really, when I got my yoga certification and dug deeper, I was like, oh my gosh, like there is actually like a whole long list of things that, as a yogi, through these experiences of mindfulness and honestly, and through the 8 limbs of yoga, not just asanas, not just meditation, not just mudras. Thank you, Byron. Not just one aspect, but all 8 limbs, right? When you're practicing all of these, we reach a point where we begin to experience quantum shifts in our reality, such that we can stand out in the below freezing cold sort of thing and be fine. Warming a wet blanket, right, while it's outside and cold, just with the temperature of your body. Not having to eat for an extended period of time. Even things like flying, floating, there was a yogi not too long ago who used to be able to make smoke with his fingers, sort of deal, right? And like, these are not magic tricks. They are learning the tools to affect your reality. And while most of us are not going to be starting fires with our fingertips, we do have the capacity, all of us have the capacity to find that center, that higher self, to align with that higher self, and then to use that relationship to change the quality of our experience of life. If you have the ability to change the quality of your experience, why wouldn't you? Would you choose to remain a victim of your experience? Would you choose to remain just a puppet of the universe and the people around you? Oh, so-and-so made me mad.
Yeah, well, my life is shit. So now this is, it's just what it is. So-and-so did this. So I guess I'm like this now. It's their fault, right? It's everybody else's fault. It can be God's fault. It can be your friend's fault. It can be your partner's fault. It can be your kid's fault. It can be your parents' fault. It can be everybody's fault. But if it's everybody else's fault, then you have no control over the situation. Thank you, Nat. And you have no control over the situation. And this is what I discovered as a kid, because I was in situations that were so intense and terrifying where I literally had no control over my physical body and my safety. There was a situation, many times where I was not in control. And so how do you do that? How do you come from a place where you are literally physically being controlled and hurt and manipulated and still find peace and freedom within? You like control? Control is good. I say, in my experience, control comes from trauma. The need for control comes from fear. So, yes, for a long time, I needed control. Am I still working through, healing through many ways that I need control in my life? Absolutely. I'm still human, very human. I'm not making fire with my fingers yet, but I'll tell you guys when I do. But it was the age of 12 or 11 or something, being threatened with my life again, being with someone in my face so much bigger than me and so much louder than me and so much stronger than me. And I had been so afraid. I had been so afraid of him. As much as I fought back, I was so afraid. But I remember one day as he was threatening my life again and describing to me how it was going to be over and how nobody would even recognize me afterwards, because that's how I realized some gift from God, some gift from the universe, some gift from the angels. I realized it was a form of control. That what he wanted was my fear. What he wanted was my anger. What he wanted was my engagement in his generation of suffering and his cultivation of suffering for all of us, for himself and the people around him, for his reality. And I fucking opted out. Pardon me. I opted out. I realized that if I opted out, he had no power anymore. And I looked at him dead in the face and said, okay. Because in that moment, I realized that if he followed through with his threats, that he would no longer have power over me, no longer have control over me. In fact, in just the acceptance of his threats, he had no control over me anymore. That's okay, Nat, because it gave me the tools that I'm using now, the tools that have saved my life. Without those circumstances, I would have never been pushed to learn the tools. But because of those circumstances, I was pushed at a very young age to learn the tools. And it set me on a path throughout my adult life to continue pursuing those tools, continue learning those tools, continue cultivating those tools so that I knew how to use them, know how to use them to such a degree that no one will ever have that control over me again. And for a long time, that has been a matter of me controlling everything, right? The next step is still maintaining that fierceness while being still and centered within. I don't need to create battles in my life. I do not need to engage with anyone else's suffering. I do not need to accept any gift that is not for me. And that is all. There is no battle, there is no attachment, there is no fight, there is no judgment, there is no suffering. If it's not for me, it's not for me. But that does mean it's for somebody else. So I'm not going to judge the gift horse, right? I'm not going to judge the gift horse and say, oh, no, thank you, gift horse, but that's not for me. I'm not interested in a relationship with someone who is, dishonest, let's say. I don't know, just throw things out there. Nope. I'm not interested in a work schedule that makes my physical body and mind uncomfortable. Nope. Thank you. Not for me, but there are others out there who want those things and want to experience those kinds of experiences in life. So please, gift horse, take it to them. It reminds me of that story that I like so much, right? The monk in the marketplace who's sitting there doing his daily people watching meditation, his eyes half open, sitting in siddhasana and just enjoying the hustle and bustle, right? The beauty of life happening all around him. And someone in the marketplace decides they don't like what he's doing. He shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be telling people what to do. He's not telling people what to do. He's just sitting there. But of course, the guy doesn't like it. So the guy goes over and tells him. And he starts out kind of nice and is like, hey man, what you're doing, this isn't really cool, and this and na. Well, the monk doesn't respond. And so the guy keeps going, and the monk doesn't respond, and the guy gets a little bit louder, and the monk doesn't respond. The guy gets really irate to the extent that he's yelling at the monk and like saying, can you not hear me? Don't you understand what I'm saying? Are you that dumb? Like, are you that? And the monk smiles finally at the man and says to him, I simply choose not to receive the gifts that you are offering me. You don't have to engage. And even if you choose to engage, you don't have to match energy. Stop matching energy with energies that you don't want to engage with, that you don't want to cultivate. If you don't want that energy within you, do not invite it in. Have a great day, Nat. Now, it's not that easy all the time, right? Because we're still human, and because our bodies are wired in these ways to keep us safe, to protect us, to house our divinity, right? Our temple, to house our divinity. Like, it has its own structure. It has its own makeup. And sometimes it gets triggered and punches back, right? I think of the time that my child, when he was just a little kid, I was helping him put his pants on, right? So he's laying on his back on the bed, and he's like this little squishy kid, right? And I'm leaning in, and I'm talking to him and playing with him, and I'm putting his pants on. And in the moment of play, he kicked me really hard without reservation, like children do, right in the throat. Right in the throat. And my reaction was so fast and so abrupt. In that moment, I did not have the locus of control. I did not have the capacity to stop myself before reacting. That is what it looks like to be operating from your programming. Now, when I say programming, very carefully, because I don't mean somebody intentionally putting a program into you sort of deal. I mean the culmination of all of your previous experiences in this lifetime, possibly others, as well as the genetic makeup, the genetic information that you inherit, right? There is so much programming that goes into building these bodies and these personalities and these egos. And we need that to operate on the material plane. It's not bad. But when we operate from within that programming, it's like letting the steering wheel drive the car. The brain is not the navigator. The higher self has the compass, has the map, knows how to operate the controls, knows when to hit the fucking brake. The steering wheel does not tarry with the brake. We have no interest in the brake. I'm a steering wheel. I'm going to keep going. Gas pedal, no interest in the brake. In fact, the gas pedal and the brake may be arguing with each other, right? We can use this analogy and take it really far. The important part is to remember that when we allow the body to drive, remember, it's also important to check your check engine light, to maintain your vehicle, right? To take care of it. So you want to make sure to listen to it, but you don't let it ultimately make all the decisions for life, because it's not a navigator. It doesn't have the wisdom to know where we're headed and to plan the steps. It is in the moment, and it's present in the moment. And that's why it helps us come back to the moment. That's why listening to the breath helps us come back to the moment. Listening for the heartbeat helps us come back to the moment. Touching the body, using a mudra, helps us come back to the present moment. And we can use our body and our mind in that way, and in that way, cultivate a relationship with our higher self, with our wiser self. Imagine if you're the wiser self, and there's all this chatter going on down there, and you're sitting here waiting to speak. You're waiting to help the whole crew drive the ship because you know where we're headed. You have the map, you got the compass, and the crew is creating chaos, mutiny down below. Are you going to really try to like scream over the din, or are you going to wait for everybody to quiet down? I found that my captain was kind of waiting for me to quiet down the crew enough for the captain to speak. And that is the practice of mindfulness. That is why I practice mindfulness every single day, and why I share tools with you so that you can practice mindfulness even just for 5 minutes. Because when you create that space, that quiet space, even just for 5 minutes, even if it's not completely quiet, the more you do this over and over. Meditation is a personal practice. The more you sit with it, the more it will resonate within you, and the more space that will be created within for that higher self to speak through. Because your higher self does not need to whisper, does not need to yell, does not need to scream, will not engage with that energy. Your higher self is sitting there waiting for you to listen. And if you don't know how to listen, I didn't know how to listen. I didn't know how to listen at all. It took a while for me to find my captain. But it was after committing to mindfulness every single day, even in just little tiny bite-sized ways. Bhakti Bites. I have been able to cultivate such a relationship with my captain that I no longer need to control the situations in my life. I can meet the situations in my life as they come, meet them with wisdom and centeredness. Not always, again, I'm still human. You guys see, I try to share plenty of videos too, right? Where I'm also not meeting life well. Okay. New day. Your destructive self is from self-defense. Seems to be always defensive. You wish others would see you for who you are and not your armor. I understand. I spent many, many years with layers of armor on me to protect. And again, recognize that those layers of armor, those layers of ego self that are there to protect you, are that. They are there to protect you. And that is a gift. Amazing that your body and your mind and your spirit have protected you for this long. So the important part is for you to find the stillness within, to put down your armor. Nobody's gonna, people may see you through your armor, but you will not be perceived, you will not feel seen until you know how to set your armor down yourself. Even if it's just for moments. And it can feel terrifying and vulnerable to do so. So make sure that when you do so gently. You do so with love and compassion and grace for yourself. Make sure that if you do that with someone else, that they are also able to hold that kind of space for you. And if there's no one else in your life that can hold it, even if there is, cultivate it for yourself so that you can find a little bit of time every day to put down that armor and to shine your authentic, beautiful self, whether it be in meditation or dancing on the porch or singing in the shower. We all need those moments with ourselves. Those moments of raw vulnerability so that we can accept our authentic selves. If we don't let them out, if we don't let them shine, how are we ever going to show them that we love them? No, I love you, but you're not allowed out of the box, okay? Nobody else can see you. Yeah, I totally love you, but nobody can see you. Of course not, right? Maggie, how do you find other people in your community to practice true yoga? Become a devotee. It depends on your community, babe. I am cultivating an online community called CAYA over at Move With Change. Speaking of, we have a class coming out at 11, so I need to wrap up really quick. Here. If you'd like to join us for our community over at Move With Change, it's called the CAYA Sangha, C-A-Y-A Sangha. It stands for Come As You Are, because we all deserve a safe space to show up just as we are, especially in those moments where we feel vulnerable, especially in in the moments where we feel confused, lost, and messy, right? And so that's the space we're creating over at Move with Change. Again, it's called the CAYA Sangha. If you subscribe here on TikTok, you get a free month over to the CAYA Sangha. And as a member in the CAYA Sangha, you get twice weekly group coaching, plus a private practice sessions on Monday, as well as a subscriber, you get twice weekly subscriber only lives where we talk about astrology, to dig into your natal chart, look at transits and that kind of stuff, fun stuff like that. Also, as a member in the CAYA Sangha, you get heavy discounts on all of my private services, as well as access to every single workshop that I put on. Every single workshop that I put on is going to be sold externally from somewhere between $200 to $600. I've got multiple planned this year. It's a huge benefit to be able to be a member over there and to access that weekly group coaching, twice weekly group coaching, the practice sessions, the workshops, and discounts to private services. In case you're over there and you're like, hey, I really need a private session, it's going to be way cheaper for you than it is for anybody else. All of that is over at Move with Change. And again, if you subscribe here on TikTok, you get a free month over at CAYA Sangha. So you can go over there and check it out completely without any sort of strings attached, right? See if it's for you. If it's not for you, that's okay. Yeah. Amanda, how do you commit to mindfulness? What do you do? There's many ways, honestly, and it really depends on what's available to you. You can begin, I really like starting by reading the 8 limbs of yoga, reading about the 8 limbs of yoga and why the 8 limbs of yoga are important, and then beginning to implement some of those practices. It is not like a progressive, this is the direction we go. There are a variety of practices within the 8 limbs of yoga that allow you to find your path to mindfulness. It's not a singular path. It is pick the pieces and use them in ways that work for you, that benefit you the most, that get you to the places that you are seeking to go. For some of us, right, we can practice something like Raja Yoga, devotee yoga, or excuse me, Bhakti Yoga is devotion yoga, Karma Yoga. We can practice by action yoga, by releasing karma sort of thing. There's a variety types of yoga that we can practice. And yoga, I mean, not just asanas, like physical movement, but yoga in the original intention of the word, which being a kind of lifestyle philosophy, a way of living, a way of connecting with the world, and with our own divinity. So that is a place, if you'd like to commit to mindfulness, I simply commit to doing 5 minutes of something every day, whether it's reading about the 8 limbs of yoga or practicing a mudra or just following your breath. The simplest practices are really the most powerful. Yes, big, long meditations are super powerful too, but it's our day-to-day, little by little moments of mindfulness that cultivate a huge shift within us. I love you too. Is it on my bio? Maggie, so yes, my website's on my bio. You can also find me at Move with Change on YouTube as well for replays if you want to access some of the previous classes and use those as a guide for practicing mindfulness. But any of this information I have shared, feel free to just send me a message if you have any questions about it, want links to, instead of going and finding things, sometimes it can be a little bit much to be like, wait, that's a lot of stuff. Can you just give me a link to the Sangha? Okay, great. I got you. Right. Give me a link to the 40-day Kundalini Kriya. That's a free online program that we're doing right now. Okay, here you go. You want a link to, I subscribed, but I didn't get the link for a free month over there. Here you go. Right. There is an app that's associated with the website too. So you can access our online programs, events, and schedule and sign up for coaching, private coaching, or energy work, or any of these other sessions. All of that stuff is available at movewithchange.com. So I need to go. I need to send out the messages so that we can get into our practice session, our Sangha sessions. Hey, B. Yeah, you're very welcome, Amanda. I came back to yoga after a couple of years off, just a couple of years ago, when it came back to my practice. And I won't ever put it down again. I won't ever put it down again. Because in putting down my practice, I lost myself. I lost my center. I lost my captain. There was complete mutiny on the ship, and I nearly lost my life. Absolutely, Tanya. In fact, I don't talk about it much because it's a personal thing for me. However, a couple years ago, after leaving a really traumatic situation, I made the commitment to my practice such that I found myself 8 copper rings and put them on my finger. When I was growing up as a kid in the Catholic Church, I really wanted to be a nun. Later on, after leaving the church and finding spirituality, I became a non-denominational reverend. I have always intended to commit my life to my practice, but I lost my way, as many of us do, right? We get taken away with life unless we really cultivate that center, that balance, that authenticity, unless we really cultivate a peace with our own authenticity that allows us to let that authenticity guide. In that way, it's a lot easier to stay centered. Amanda, you've had a rough go the last few years mentally, and I feel like it's time to go back. Yeah, come back. Come to the light side. These are really important practices, especially as we work through collective ascension symptoms. This is what yoga is for, right? This is what the full lifestyle practice of yoga is for. So without the religious connotations of Hinduism, read into the 8 limbs of yoga or the yoga sutras. Yoga sutras are really powerful foundational practices, foundational teachings. And again, explore them in whatever way feels most comfortable to you, because that's the reality, right? Is to follow that authenticity. Okay, I love you guys. I got a boogie. For those of you who are members at CAYA Sangha, we are going to be going into the CAYA Sangha sessions here at 11 o'clock. I'm going to send out an email, so watch your email, and then we will get on the Zoom call if you would like to join us over there. I think actually I just recently set up that you can purchase classes like as a single class if you want to join us in the Sangha sessions. You can go do that at Move with Change as well. If you have any questions or concerns or whatnot, send me a message here. You can also email me at movewithchange@gmail.com, or you can comment on the website, or you can find me at YouTube, or you can find me all the places. I love you guys. Mwah! Have a fantastic Monday.